Hello and welcome to this week's episode of For the Love of Chiropractic, 3 Keys of My Success. I'm your host, Dr. Robert Freeman. I hope you tuned in and listened to last week's show, which was a phenomenal interview with Dr. Matt Kahn, and we heard his story of how a kid in Southeast Asia ended up becoming a chiropractor and then going into practice. On this week's show, we're going to hear how that one practice down on the island of Singapore has turned into over 40 offices, a chiropractic empire that literally spans the entire globe. Hello and welcome to Secrets of My Success, part of For the Love of Chiropractic podcast series. On each episode, I'll be interviewing one highly successful doctor or business person, asking them what are their 3 keys of success or secrets they've used to make themselves so highly successful. So let's get started with today's show. Matt, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
I want to thank you so much. It's wonderful to still be talking to you, and I want to thank you for everything that you shared that I was able to put on last week's episode. So we left off by talking about how you had created this incredibly systematic procedure, and then you had additional training in AK, and you were working on what the practice was going to look like. Please pick it up from there.
Okay. Yes. So, when I first started, my idea of I want to grow the practice into a few clinics. I never envisioned that I actually would have 45 clinics around the world, at different part of the world, right? And the kind of volume that we see, some of our clinics, we see about 400 PV for 500 PV per doctor per clinic, right? Some of the clinics that we have 2 doctors, we are seeing way more than 500, 600, 700 PV, right, per week. So, and how do we move into that direction, right? So when I first started, it was the way that I went around and tried to see what kind of structure and system that some of the clinics in the US, right? And me and Thomas, and we figured out that, hey, having a modality physiotherapy base, right, to make sure the patient are very happy and they think the value is they receive the value. So we have a lot of modality and then adjustment, right? And that took about, so at that time, that means, how many patients can we see? So I remember when we did that, the whole day, right, I can spend for about 9-10 hours, and I'm seeing about 50 old patients, right, in the whole day. And I was running around very tired, right? And I look at it, wow, can I really grow from there, right? How can I be more efficient, right? And how can I duplicate myself, right? And among some of my friends, right, and some of the most comment that that we receive, hey, why don't you get an associate? And a lot of these, right, principal doctors will answer that they cannot trust the associate, or the associate are not good enough, right?
Right.
Then my idea is like, why don't we train them until they're good enough, right? What does it take, right? And that's the thing. A lot of the principal doctors will just bring an associate in, right? A majority of them, 91% of the doctors that I talk to, they'll just say, okay, I've got extra space, just come in and do what you do, right? Or they have a clinic and just, okay, do what you do, right? Without a proper system, right? And you hope the doctor that you brought in, can communicate well, communicate the same way that you do, right? And able to, adjust the same way, or read the X-ray, or do similar that you think. And hopefully the system that you have right now is efficient or effective, or are yours personality practice, right? That people come to you because of the personality, but if you put somebody else there, it will just not grow.
Sure.
right? So I asked myself, how do we get there, and how do we cut out the personality, right? So that it's not the person, but it's the chiropractic and the script, the system, right, that we can put in, right, that the communication, what do the patient see, patient touch, patient hear, right? How do we systemize it? What do we train the doctors on? Yeah, and that's important. So one of the breakthrough, and I must, pay tribute to, is WLP practices, right? Was introduced to WLP and CJMers, right? And that was kind of a wake-up call at one point of the juncture of my practice to say that, wow, right, I'm a man of system, and I did not, and this system is just ideal for me, very, very ideal for me, right? And I remember I was in Bondi Junction where he had his one of the big seminar, and I couldn't sleep for 2-3 nights. After that, I was walking up and down the beach. I was thinking, wow, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this system. I'm going to change this and change that. And sure enough, at that time, I had 6 practices, right? And six practices. And we had about 10 doctors that are not, we are doing a sizable but not high volume and not open system and not a waiting list practice kind of system, right? And I took a stand. They said, okay, in 1 month, we're going to change all over. That means we're going to throw away a lot of the modalities, right? We're going to cut this, cut that, and we're going to move completely different. And that was quite bold of me. And sure, within 1 month, we break down a lot of walls. We make it open system, right? We put, even the reporting, the booking, everything has changed, right? Completely. And again, I pay tribute to WLP and CJMS system. Yeah. Yeah. So from there, then I developed more procedure system in-house, know-how, right? That is more towards Asian, right? Added some Asian, Asian scriptings to it, right? So that, in different country, we have to adopt differently. For example, in Indonesia, I'm going to adopt slightly different, right?
Sure.
Way of presenting it, slightly different. In Philippines, it's slightly different, right? In Malaysia, it's different. In UK, it's different. In Barcelona, it's also different. In China, also different. Yeah, yeah, and all this while, right? We have found good success.
Fabulous. So currently, as you mentioned earlier, so you have 45 offices around the world, and you had told me on our previous call that you're planning on opening several more this year also.
Yes. We are expanding more into different countries, Philippines, and as well as we are returning back to China. We used to have 5 clinics in China before the COVID, and during COVID, we actually shut down all of them, right? At that time, it was quite a challenging time during COVID,
Sure.
right? China was literally completely shut down. Yeah. So now, yes, we are planning to return back to China.
So my question is, with these 45 offices currently and expanding, and this machine, I'd love to hear from you. What would you say your 3 keys of success are that you want to share with the chiropractic world? And let's talk about them one at a time. So what would you say your first key of success is?
Okay. Number 1, we need to be very clear on what are we delivering, right? What are we delivering? Are we, unfortunately, a lot of chiropractors say that they are not pain doctor, but they have not changed their vocabularies. They haven't changed their narrative, okay, right? And therefore, they are still stuck with pain, although they call themselves, I'm not a pain doctor. So that's important. You have to be very clear, right? Very clear, and you got to move from pain, right? From symptom towards what do you want to focus in. So for us, we focus on the spine and focus on structural correction, right? So when a patient comes in with, yes, I've got neck pain, back pain, headache, migraine, right? We make sure that we take X-ray of all our patients. The only patient that do not have X-ray are pregnant ladies, right? And babies, right? Even certain babies that have, literally, right? We can see the structural deformity. We do take, right, X-ray of them, right? Young kids, we can see a structural deformity, posture deformity. We take X-ray. We do not, right, depend on a feel, right? So with that, we look at it, and we are very very specific. We are structurally based, very specific, right? We identify, right, where the primary and the secondary, okay, and we correlate very well, right? And then we have a program for the patient, okay, a program for the patient. So we are very clear of what do we want to do, right? And we will know, our care plan is never about how they feel, but it's about how they heal. Again, it's also another key things that we always tell the patient and make sure the patient understand that, right? We are, so like what? I give you some example.
Please.
Right? Give you some example, right? Do you want to be known to be a dentist that fix, right, rotten,
like
right,
cavities,
right? Or do you want to be the doctor? For example, we pride ourselves being, right, the doctor, the orthodontic of the dentistry. We reverse structure, we correct structure, we make sure the spine and the nervous system functioning at its best all the time, right? So we check and adjust them, okay, whether they need whether they're in pain or symptoms or not, okay? Because we believe 90% of subluxation are without symptoms, right?
Right.
So we are very clear of what we are, right? That we correct structure, and we explain to the patient our corrective remodeling, right? Model, right, to the spine, okay, right? I do not know how much the readers may understand that. So that's number one concept. Number two concept is, right, right. Another concept is very important is we need to be, right, we need to be telling the patient that we are not just an accident repair workshop. Okay, so an accident repair workshop means, oh, I got an accident, come in, okay, there you go, all right, bye-bye, and come back when your car is in trouble again, right? So for us is, what happens if you have a Lamborghini and you have something that wrong with it, you come in, I fix it, but guess what, right? I need to make sure your Lamborghini performing at its best all the time. That means when you drive and the brake is not so smooth, or the tires is just sliding, or the power is not coming in, and you bring, right, and then you got an engineer that tune it all the time so that it's function at its best, right? And that's what we are, and that's how we explain to the patient, right? So number one is to be very clear of what are you offering to the patient, right? And that's important, because if your offering is wrong, then the patient will think you always become, right, a car wreck doctor, and when they feel better, bye-bye to you.
Right.
Okay, right. So that's number one. Number two is to have a good system, proper system, right? So what we do is, right, instead of trying to memorize memorize, when patient has a problem and then you try to memorize an answer to it, we always ask, what can I do differently so that the patient will never ask me that kind of question and the patient will never be in that situation ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So for example, right, patient will ask, right, doc, I'm feeling better now, so should I, can I just drop down, or why do I need to come in so frequently, right? So what we do in our clinic is we pre-frame it way before that. Okay, we always tell the patient, hey, right, this is your second week, right? Do you feel much better? Yes, I do. Okay, yeah, my pain went down and so on. So if I don't touch your spine, do you feel any pain? No, right? But when I touch this T4, what does it feel? Oh yeah, that's very soft. Oh yeah, that's very tight. Okay, so what does that mean, right? Do you understand now what we mean, right? Right, how you feel and then how you heal is differently, right? So we pre-frame them such that, okay, then we'll say, okay, so should I be adjusting this or should I wait until it becomes painful, then we adjust you, right? So we do a lot of this pre-framing so that the patient will follow through, right, with the care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's number 2, right?
Perfect. So
and
then what's number 3?
Number 3, a lot of training. We do a lot of training, right, with our team members, right? And training is very important. So we always ask, we ask some of my friends, do you do training? Yeah. How much, right? And something that woke me up was, right, we always ask, for Roger Federer, the ex-world tennis player, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, what do they do every week, every single week? What do an NBA player do every single week? How many times a week? They train and train and train and train. And what do they train on? They train on the same thing over and over again, fine-tuning and fine-tuning and fine-tuning, right? And that's what we do. So our clinic, we train and train every single week, right? Our CA get together, the doctors get together, and then we just, right, train and train and train and train, right? Right, to sharpen our system, to sharpen our scripts, right? To sharpen our communication, right? And that's what we do, yes.
So let me ask you a question, and you had shared the answer with me previously, and I need you to say it again. So you have 45 offices around the world. How do you possibly train with all of them?
Okay. We have group training. We have videos. We have academy. So we have team members. That means I've got a team that runs the marketing. Mm-hmm. I got a team that runs the academy. I've got the CA academy. I've got the DC academy. Any doctors that join us must go through a boot camp of about 1 to 3 months boot camp that we train them on, right? To make sure they are well prepared when they come in, right? Once they start, right, we have a marketing team that will prepare all the new patients for them. Right, we have an operation team that will manage the staff and manage the operation. We got a business development team that create new clinics, right, a new system. We have this training team again. Train the CA, right. We have this doctors academy that trains the doctors. We also have what we call an audit team that goes around looking at the quality, right, the system, whether they're following, right, and then we also have a customer relationship team that makes sure that every patient feedback is looked into it, right. So we have a group of people to make sure that we are running very systematically, right, running like a very neatly oiled machineries.
And you're able to do this with a system of a machine that's literally working around the world.
Yes, working around the world. We have system, our operation system, our clinic reporting system, our scheduling system is on Salesforce. So anywhere in the world, all right, I can just by tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll go to Dallas, Texas, and then I say, okay, I want to take this unit. Is there any Wi-Fi there? Good. Okay, put 2 chiropractic tables down there and put 1 computer each, right, in front of them, and put another 1 computer at the front desk, and put another computer for the calling system or the check-in system, and turn it on, and pam, we are in business. Right, and our system will track the patient, tell the patient, right, when the patient comes in, the system will say hello to them, right? The patient will track, when did they come in, how much time did they spend there, right? When they're scheduled. We also have the app, so every patient has an app to know that, hey, they are scheduled, and the app will notify them. The app will say hello to them. The app will push table talk ticks to them, right? So yeah, we have apps. We have the scheduling system. We have a system that will report every single month. We have reports on conversion, compliance, retention, to referrer, right? So yeah,
Fabulous.
dropout, everything is there, so that we learn if we have dropout, why, what's going on, what is this doctor wicked, what is this clinic wicked, is there something wrong, is the communication wrong? So we fine tune. So we have a lot of dashboard that we put on, right? And we're looking forward rather than few months later, 1 year later, 2 years later, how come this clinic is not doing so well, right? And that's too late. So we have a lot of dashboard, a lot of stats that we look at, and we are taking on the stats, right? And making sure we fine tune, so that we are always moving up.
So sadly, our time is running short. I have to ask you just a few more questions.
Sure.
Because I just love everything that you're saying. So with your vast experience, do you believe that it's possible for a young doc or a doc who's not successful yet, do you think it's still possible for them to become a huge success in starting out in the world today?
In the USA, currently, if we do not have the extra help, it's quite challenging. I interview doctors from the USA almost on a weekly basis, and I've interviewed doctors that have been in practice for many years and new grads, right? And unfortunately, the school do not really equip them, okay? And unfortunately too, the insurance, the systems, right? Is quite taxing on a doctor, and if you do not have the extra help, it's going to be quite tough. But if you have the extra help, it's different, right?
So what extra help? What extra help are you referring to?
Okay, so I want to share with you this doctor. I don't know whether I shared with you before. This doctor is Dr. Kerry Tavin, right? He's a DECBA, right? DECBA. He's graduated from Palmer also. And he has been practicing for quite a number of years, practicing for almost 20 years before he came and joined me, right? And he was with me for about 6 years before during COVID, he went back to the USA, right? And he sent me this message in 25th September 2022.
Okay, so just a couple of years ago.
Couple of years ago, he sent me this message, and he left. He was with me for about 5 to 6 years. He left during COVID, right? Went back home to USA, and he had been in practice as a DECBA, had been in practice in the USA for almost 20 years before he joined me, right? So he wrote there, Dr. Kahn, I wanted to share something with you because of the influence of your training and the experience with chiropractic first. I have consistently grown my practice. So he went back, he started his practice. I have been doing over 450 PV for several months. And this past week, I went over 590.
So with the systems and procedures he learned from working with you, after not being successful for about 20 years,
That's right.
He came
In the
back to the
US.
U.S., opened a practice, and grew to 400 to 500 visits a week using what he
And
learned from you.
yeah, and he said this past week I went over 590. And then he says further, that's the most I've ever done in my career in the week. I recognize your system and your communication as the primary reason for my success. So I wanted to thank you again for a life-changing experience in Singapore. You and some of the other doctors showed me what was possible. Thought you might be interested to know. So he sent me this. And he still continues to send me doctors.
That is wonderful. So I am going to ask you after we finish the interview, I'm going to ask you to review something else with me.
Sure.
That, with your permission, I will then put up as a bonus piece of information. But let's finish this out first. I have that question off to the side. So, having done all the things you've done, how do you define business success?
Business success is number one. We ask ourselves how much impact we can change the world, right? So my vision is, right, my organization will be around for the next 100 years without me. Around 100 to 200 years, it will still be growing, right? And because of that, I want to create systems, culture that it will be more than 100 years serving the community, changing the community, right? Right. And at the end of the day, what we want is to transform the community into chiropractic as a way of life, right? So what we are doing is beyond just cracking bones, adjusting bones, right? We need to transform our patient, right? So why do our patients keep coming in, right? Every single week to be checked and adjusted, and bring the families in to be checked and adjusted, right? Just last week, I have this young boy who is in his 20-year-old. Actually, he just finished his national service army in Singapore, and he the day before he flew to Australia, Melbourne, for his university. So he's about 21 years old. Yeah, He was packing his bag. His whole family has been my patient for a long time. So he was packing his bag. He carried too heavy. He had a history of sleep disc. And he flew there and he was in so much pain, right? They put in all the painkillers, steroids, and opiates. And then the parents said, no, we're going to do a 6-month deferment. I'm going to bring you back and get Dr. Kahn to, get you back in shape again. And so he did. So I remember then I was talking to the mother. The mother was there. The parents were there. I was talking, wow, this young man, right? And I had been adjusting this young man on a regular basis. I said, oh, this young man is getting so big. He's huge. He's about almost 5 feet 11, right? 21-year-old guy. I said, wow, this young man, I remember the first time I saw him, he was just a young kid. And then the mom said, no, let me correct you. He was only a 1-month-old baby when he first started adjusting, right? And now it's 21 years, right? And that's the one. That is what we call success means, right? That we are still growing, that we are helping the population, and my success is to see, hey, if I can have an organization, if I have a clinic that can be, right, adjusting patient, that means I'm helping the community, and my community very willing, right, to invest in their time, money, and effort to be part of chiropractic as a way of life, to be checked and adjust, to make sure their spine and nervous system is functioning at its best all the time for them and the family members. All right, if that is done, that's good. Of course, then we look at our dashboard benchmark. What is success? If you have practice and you're struggling, okay, right? For that, so we look at it as, hey, right, do you really need to spend a lot of time for a patient? Can you cut short it and still do a lot more, right? Instead of one-to-one communication or one-to-one patient education, can you do a group class, right? So I start to ask those questions. How can our doctors, our clinic, okay, connect and engage more people more efficiently compared to a one-to-one.
Yeah.
So it used to be every doctor one-to-one, and you spend time and effort talking one-to-one, high-five them, it's one-to-one. So instead of one-to-one, can we do a group? Now we are going into online classes. Right now we are saving classes and doing podcasts or something like what you do, and patients are like, wow, I learned a lot on that day, right? So we are evolving into that, right? Bringing new technology, bringing new ideas to reach out to more people, and educating them, right? And that's, to me, is success, I think.
Okay, so if that's business success, and I love what you just said, the whole idea of giving the information online so people can consume it without the doctor repeating it every time to every patient, that's such a time saver. You're right. So that's business success. How do you define personal success?
Wow, personal success. I think it's a calling. So share with you. I have 4 doctors with me now that were once upon a time my patient when they were young kids.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So be able to get your patient to say, oh, I want to study chiropractic. I want to go into chiropractic and I want to work as a chiropractor. Right? That is that's something that is very fulfilling. Seeing children grow up, right? And seeing, you are the first point of contact for patient, right? Anything happen to them, and they come knock on your door and say, hey, doc, I've got this problem, or my mother has this problem, or my, certain family members has this problem. What do you think, right? And that's meaningful. That means, right, we know that we have transformed.
Yeah, literally changing lives. So, Matt, I have to ask you, last question I'm going to ask in this interview. If somebody has heard this information, they've heard the 2 parts of this podcast, what would you say to them? What's the first step somebody who's not successful yet should do to start to become successful?
Number one, I would ask them to go and visit clinics, right? I remember when I was in Palmer, and I went around asking, fortunately, for example, Thomas, when I went to chiropractic, Thomas was already graduating, and he went to a lot of seminars I get to follow. And after that, as a student, as a first year grad, I went around doing seminars, right? And I meet doctors who are out there, and I ask questions like, who are the most successful doctors? Who are the highly successful doctors around in all the different towns, right? I knock on their door and I ask question, why are you successful? What is it that different, right? And that's important. Right. Of course, when I ask those questions, some doctors will say, yeah, that Dr. Bill is the top in this town. That doctor is that. And then you hear some people, nah, he's the comment, he's the bullshit. So you do have sour grapes that are doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ask, well, hey, sour grapes, where are you? And the sour grapes are always, most of them, struggling big time.
Down at the bottom.
Right? And this doctor is like, he cannot be tricky. He cannot be scamming everybody all the time. There must be something that he's doing right, that he has so many followers, that he's so liked, and that he's so successful. Go and learn.
Exactly.
Right?
Dr.
So
Matthew,
that's important. That's what I want, those people that's struggling, go knock on doors and ask who are the successful people, and don't be critical. Ask them, why is it? Why? Why is this person doing that he's successful? And that's where you can see with your own eyes that, wow, there's something you can learn. Yeah.
That is fantastic. Dr. Matthew Kahn, I want to thank you so much for taking all of this time to share all of this information. And again, I can't thank you enough.
No problem. Okay.
And
you can always ask me any question.
All right. And that's our show for today. If you have a question about today's show or your own practice, feel free to reach out at fortheloveofchiropractic.com. Before making changes to your practice, be sure to seek legal advice regarding those changes and regulations in your state. For the Love of Chiropractic is an RGF production, all rights reserved. And thanks for listening. Original music provided by Hunter Rich Music.